Good morning. Welcome to our gentle yoga class. And this week we're on the last niyama, which is Ishvara Pranidhana, which means surrender. So go ahead and allow yourself to find a comfortable position to start, maybe either seated, or I always love it when I can come to lying on the back. I do have several props that I like to use in class. I have blocks, bolster, blanket, strap. Oh, and a folding chair can be helpful. So if you have any props that you want to use, go ahead and gather those. And then just allow yourself to sink in to support. You might take a nice deep breath in through the nose and then maybe open the mouth and just allow yourself to sigh it out, letting go of any tension or holding. And then maybe you want to set an intention for your practice today. Perhaps that intention could be along the lines of this theme, Ishvara Pranidhana, surrender. And then I'll offer a short reading on this jewel of surrender. So in this book by Deborah Adele, she quotes, Swami Rama used to say, do what is yours to do. Don't do what is not yours to do. She goes on to say, how simple these words may sound to our ears, and yet they are profound to our understanding of surrender. As we are able to let go of what we can't change, we are able to grow more and more into our own unique gift and contribution to life itself. There is something that is ours to do. And whether it is large or small, it is our contribution to the whole of humanity. As we discern where our path lies, and then surrender to that awareness, we will begin to taste the freedom and joy in a way we never dreamed possible. Surrender asks us to be strong enough to engage each moment with integrity, and at the same time, soft enough to flow with the current of life. Surrender is ultimately a stance of devotion that takes place in the heart and permeates all our attitudes and actions. In its deepest sense, Ishvara Pranidhana is the surrender of the ego to a higher purpose. As the ego surrenders, the heart expands. As the ego stops working so hard to get its own way, life begins to take on an ease and a rhythm. As the ego stops fighting to be number one, life begins to nourish and feed us in amazing ways. Take a moment to allow yourself to set an intention for your practice. This could be something you'd like to cultivate or something you'd like to let go of. Imagine that intention as a glorious jewel. Allow the jewel to plant itself at your heart center. With your inhale breath, you might imagine it as a particular color. Allow it to start to glow and brighten with the inhale. And then you can allow it to soften and fade with your exhale. Take 3 more nice deep breaths like this. And then you can slowly make your way onto your back if you're not there already. See if you can bring a strap with you for support and maybe even a block. Once you come onto your back, we're going to start with a little bit of a neck massage, seeing if we can surrender any of this tension that might be living in the back of the neck, underneath the skull. So everything is optional, remembering you have choice and agency. So take what works for you. Feel free to leave the rest. So you might start by tucking your chin towards your chest. And I'm going to bring the edge of the block right underneath the occipital ridge of the skull. That's the base of the skull where the skull meets the neck. And just take a moment to pause, allowing yourself to sink into sensation, breathing slowly and deeply. If for any reason you don't have a block or this doesn't work for you, you can always just pause with your head on the ground. And then we're going to go ahead and slowly begin to turn the nose from side to side. So allowing that edge of the block to maybe massage the base of the skull. Perhaps even that area where there might be tension where the neck and skull meet. And as you move slowly and intentionally, you might notice yourself allowing yourself to gently and gracefully say no. I know myself as a chronic people pleaser, it can be hard for me to set boundaries and say no. So maybe we just allow it to be a practice. Perhaps there's something you'd like to set a boundary with that you can just imagine yourself as you gently turn the head side to side, practicing saying no. Knowing that no in itself is a complete sentence. If there are areas that are especially tender or feel like they need extra attention, you can always allow yourself to pause there. Bringing your breath and your intention to that location. Maybe go ahead and turn the head one more time from side to side. And when you you feel complete from left to right. You can come back to center, lift your head off the block, and then just allow yourself to come back, your head on the ground. Practice surrender here by relaxing the body, releasing control, releasing rigidity. And then we're going to do that same windshield wiper movement now with the knees. So you can, or with the legs, the entire legs basically. So you can walk your feet as wide as the mat and then allow your knees to float over to the left. And then turn your gaze over to the right, just like wringing out a dish rag. And just allow yourself to soften here into a gentle twist. If your feet were as wide as the mat, you might notice your right knee falling down towards your left foot. And then you can peek your gaze over towards your right hand. See if you can allow yourself to soften here. You might find a little opening through the right hip. You could start to reach your right fingertips kind of at a diagonal away from your right knee. Finding some opening along the right side body. Maybe you even peek your gaze up towards your right hand. Take some nice deep breaths here. Noticing the sensations and relaxing control. If you can find any places that might have stored tension. Then when you're ready, we'll come back to center. You can bring the knees back up to center, bring the arms alongside the body, and then just take a moment to unwind from that twist. I'm going to set up for the other side. So once more, my feet are as wide as the mat. And then get any props out of your way to allow your knees to melt over to the right. Maybe begin to turn your gaze softly over to the left. Your left knee might be falling down towards your right foot. Breathe into any areas of sensation. Maybe you start to sweep your left arm, kind of at a diagonal, reaching it away from the knee, growing the space along the left side. You might peek your gaze up towards your left hand. Notice an opening through the front of the hip. Take some long, slow, deep breaths. On the next inhale breath, we'll unwind, bringing the arms back toward your side. Float the knees to center, float the gaze to center. And now just allow yourself to windshield wiper here a little side to side. Maybe these are slow movements, maybe they are shorter movements. And then from here, we're going to find a little bit of a supported bridge. So you can take your block next to your hips, walk your heels in so they're kind of closer together, maybe closer to your sit bones. And then you can press into your heels, lift your hip points up towards the sky, and then slide the block maybe underneath your sacrum. If that feels too pinchy, you can always cover it with a blanket or maybe use a pillow instead for a softer, maybe more shallow lift. Go ahead and take some nice deep breaths in this gentle inversion. And if you feel like you want to make it even more of an inversion, you could lift one leg at a time or both legs together. If you do one leg at a time, it might feel a little bit less intense. And as you lift one leg, you can rotate the ankle and maybe sweetly gaze lovingly up towards your foot. See about sending the foot gratitude. And if you're lifting one leg, go ahead and switch legs. Maybe you notice subtle differences from one to the other. Just try and offer yourself kindness and compassion. When you're ready to be done with that, you can return both feet to the mat, press into your hip points to release your prop from underneath you, and allow your spine to roll down one vertebrae at a time. You might even lift onto the balls of your toes to make a little bit more space. And then as you roll down, you can return your feet to the mat. This time we're going to press into the heels and just lift the hips ever so slightly. And just like a hammock, go ahead and allow the hips to sway from side to side. The next time your hips swing over to the right, you can land your left hip and then open your arms into a letter T. You come into a deeper twist now. This time, go ahead and turn your head, your gaze, over towards your right hand. And you can really allow yourself to sink and settle into this version of a twist. And if we want to continue our little bit of a neck massage, this time you can use your hands. So you might interlace your hands behind your head and then bring your thumbs to the sides of your neck or to that place right underneath your skull. And this time you can use your thumb pads to offer your neck a gentle massage. Maybe in the same area you found before or a different area. Remember, this is also optional. On the next exhale, you can release that, swinging your arms back out into a letter T. And then I'm going to reach for my block so that it's going to be handy. You can go ahead and sweep your right arm up and over the body, rainbow it over to roll onto your side. And then you can either prop your head up on your hand, or I like to prop my head up on the block. And I find this to feel really like a nice massage actually for the side of my head, my temple. So I just have the block right underneath my left temple. From here, we're going to strengthen through the glutes. So you can glue your heels together and start to lift and lower your top knee away from your bottom knee. See if you can anchor yourself so that only this part of the body is moving. And just notice where you feel the effort, maybe where you feel some strengthening. If you feel some strengthening and effort from your hip, can you send this area of the body gratitude for all it does to support you in your daily life? This is a borrowed move from physical therapy that some of us might get assigned at some point in our life. And perhaps the idea is that we're strengthening the glutes in order to support the knee. Go ahead and continue at the pace of your own breath, pausing anytime you need a rest. When you're ready to pause that action, you can float the top knee out in front of you so you can stack the knees in a straight line with the body, and then lift the top knee, lower it down to stretch through the glute. And then maybe you want to turn this into a fan favorite. This is the cat chasing its tail twist by allowing the top shoulder to sink back behind you. An option here to create a bind. So you might bend the bottom knee, reach around with your hand to grab hold of the back foot. So this is my top hand, which is my right hand, reaching for my bottom foot, my left foot. Just to get a quad stretch. Maybe if it feels too intense, you can always just veto this part, remembering everything is optional. We'll take a nice deep breath here, settling into your twist, or settling into just the stretch for the glute. Whenever you're ready, you can release the foot and roll back onto your back, resetting by pressing into the feet, lengthening the spine, and just give yourself a moment to unwind. Thinking about how when we unwind the dish rag, we might be able to fill it back with fluid. So letting all of the tissues rehydrate with fresh breath, fresh oxygen, fresh blood flow. And then we'll get ready for the other side. So you can press into your heels, lift your hips, and then swing your hips a little side to side. The next time your hips swing over to the left, you can land your right hip, allow the knees to stack, and find yourself in this twist. Maybe allowing your shoulders to rest heavy as you turn your gaze over towards your left hand. If you want to incorporate the neck massage here, you could also interlace your hands behind your head, and maybe use the thumb pads to explore any areas at the base of the skull, alongside the neck. Whenever you feel ready, you can float the top hand up and over like a rainbow, rolling onto your side body. Go ahead and bring a block maybe underneath your temple, or prop your head up on your hand by bending the elbows, or just that elbow. And then we'll start our clamshells here. Find the movement that feels good for you and your body. Breathing into the hip joint. Welcoming sensation, maybe effort. Feel the strength of your glutes as you use them. Maybe you could send breath and gratitude down to circle the hip joint. Follow the pace of your own breath and notice when you want a rest. And then allow yourself to take that rest by stopping the action, sliding the knees down so they're in a straight line with the body. We'll lift the top knee and then lower it down in front to find a stretch through the glute. You can stay right here or begin to sink your top shoulder back, maybe even bringing the hand to the shoulder to find a little bit of a different kind of twist. And then totally optional to reach the hand down and maybe grab hold of the bottom foot for a quad stretch. If you find any cramping at all, just back off from that. Just let your body give you the right signal, the right message. You could always try again or just skip that part, remembering that each of these poses is infinite, and our place within them can change from day to day, side to side. Give yourself permission to explore and change your mind. When you're ready, we'll release the foot. If you're in the bind, you might give one of your toes a gentle, loving tug, and then release the foot gently. Allow yourself to unwind from your twist. Come onto your back. Press into your heels so that you can lengthen your spine long, and then just allow yourself a moment to pause. Feel the rehydration along your spine. Feel your tissues fill with breath and fresh fluids. And then you have the option here, especially if you have your strap close by, to hug your knees in towards your chest if you like. And you might wrap the strap around your shins. Mine is kind of far away. I don't know what happened to it. Oh, there it is. You could either rock and roll up and down the length of your spine or simply roll over onto one side and press yourself up into a seat. To find a comfortable seat, maybe you want to use a pillow or a bolster or blanket to help elevate the hips. And then finding any kind of comfortable seat that could be in a chair, on the floor. You could have your legs crossed or stretch your legs out wide. Allow your spine to lengthen. And then let's see about also having our strap and our blocks close by for support. So allow your spine to lengthen. Anytime that you feel uncomfortable, you can always change it up. Maybe changing the cross of your legs could be helpful, or uncrossing them all together, having them wide out in a V, or changing to a chair for a seat. From here, we'll bow our head towards our heart. So feel the length in the back of your spine. On the next exhale, you can float your chin towards your left shoulder. I was going to say your left chin, but you really only have one chin, don't we? So allow your chin to rest heavy towards your shoulder, finding some length along the right side of the neck. You could even bring your left fingertips to the right side of the neck. I think I might have mixed up left and right, but anyway, you're bringing your opposite hand to the side of the neck, the opposite side of the neck. And this might be a place where if you had like a tiger balm or some kind of massage lotion, you could always bring that onto your hand and give yourself a little self massage here. When you're ready, we'll release that side and then allow your head to hang heavy towards your heart. And this time you can sweep your chin towards your right shoulder. Oh, yippee, I got a cat. When you're ready, you might bring your right fingertips to your left side of your neck and just give yourself a little gentle massage here with your fingertips. Like to kind of find any areas of tension or holding here. And maybe you can always like pin this move for later, thinking about if you wanted to grab some kind of massage lotion, especially if you find any tension. I don't know if it's just me. Am I the only one with tension on the side of the neck? When you're ready to release that, you can bring your hand back into your lap, bow your head towards your heart, and then lift your gaze back to center. Let's take it down into the shoulders now. So you can start to roll the shoulders up towards the ears and glide them down the back. See if you have any tension living in the shoulders. Maybe it's just me. Towards the end of practice, I did get some new like yoga tune-up balls, but I can also show you some self-massage with like a racket ball or a tennis ball. So maybe we'll bring that in, incorporate that in later. I forgot to mention that in terms of props. Let's go ahead and take one shoulder at a time now. So you're rounding the shoulder up towards the ears, gliding the shoulder blade down the back, and then alternating one shoulder at a time. Now go ahead and reverse the direction of your shoulder circles, bringing them up and around. Sending your breath intentionally into any areas of tension. And now let's sync up the movement so you can draw your shoulder blades to kiss at your back, bring the shoulders up towards the ears, and then round them down in front. And then when you're ready, you can come back to stillness. Now we'll reach for the strap. We're going to do what's called Gomukhasana, or cow face arms. I like the cow face arms without the cow face legs, which is a little bit harder to maneuver. So you can bring a strap in your right hand and then reach the strap up and around. Allow the strap to fall down your spine. Your elbows pointed up towards the sky. So you could bring your opposite hand onto your elbow, but instead, or you can sweep that hand around. Now my left thumb is pointing down, the palm is facing back, and you can reach around to grab the strap anywhere that feels good. Find the right amount of tension between your hands, and then see if you can also relax your effort 10%. You might begin to turn your gaze over your left shoulder if that feels okay for the neck. It's kind of feels like a nice stretch for my neck personally. Remember, if you find that you need to readjust the legs at all, you could always stretch them out into a V, or maybe reverse the cross of your ankles could feel good. So allow yourself permission to make any adjustments. Now, if you're peeking your gaze over your shoulder, go ahead and start to bow your gaze down towards your left side body. And then you can peek your gaze down all along your chest, tucking your gaze underneath your right armpit. When you're ready, you can release that side once more. Just bring your hands to rest in your lap. Maybe to close down your eyes or soften your gaze and allow the tissues to rehydrate. See if you can notice any small sensations, or maybe they're large sensations from left to right. Noticing the difference with curiosity and compassion. And then we'll change the strap to the opposite hand. So I have the strap in my left hand now, lifting the strap up towards the sky, allow it to drape down the spine with the elbow pointing up towards the sky. You could bring your hand onto that elbow if you'd like. That kind of feels like a nice stretch for the that tricep. And then, or float that hand down. Now we'll swivel the thumb down. The palm is facing back. You can wrap the hand around to grab anywhere along the strap. Maybe think about letting yourself relax, releasing the effort, softening into ease, and then maybe turning your gaze past your right shoulder, just over your right shoulder. Lengthening through the spine. On your next exhale, you can bow your gaze to your side body and then allow your gaze to float down towards your heart and tuck your gaze underneath your left armpit. Take one more nice deep breath here. When you're ready, you can release that, bringing the head back to center, releasing the arms, allowing them to sit in the lap. Go ahead and close down the eyes or soften the gaze. Just allow your mind to find differences here from left to right. From here, we'll blink the eyes open, and you can always stay for your cat and cow in a seat. Feel free to inhale to lift the heart, exhale to round the spine, or if you'd like, you can come to hands and knees. If it feels okay to be on the knees. Now, I've been trying to be very tender with my knees recently, so I might even use the bolster underneath the knees for extra softness, and I'll tuck the toes under here and then bring my hands onto blocks. So I'm coming into a tabletop. Now, if you want to skip being on the knees altogether and you don't want to be seated, you could also just rise up and come into a stilted tabletop. So this could either be with your hands on blocks or your hands on a chair. I'll show you what that looks like. So I might bring myself to the chair, and then with my hands on the chair, I'm in a stilted tabletop. So we can inhale for cow pose, letting the heart reach down and through the biceps, and then exhale to round into your cat. So feel free to explore any variation of cat and cow, just thinking about how we can move our spine. Here I have my arms and legs long, but I'm still in a tabletop position. At any time, you might begin to imagine your belly button is tracing the inside of a hula hoop. Thinking about all the different ways the spine can move. And can you take a moment to observe with your imagination this intricate spine and how it fits together just like a puzzle? Allowing yourself a moment to pause in any places that need extra attention. Breathing into that spot. And then go ahead and reverse the direction of your spinal movement, your hula hoop circles. Ooh, and you might feel a nice little pop, snapple, crack. Just allow yourself to enjoy this movement. Now we'll wag the tail from side to side. So finding a neutral spine. If you're in any kind of tabletop, you can find a peek over your shoulder towards your opposite hip. If you're seated, you can literally bend side to side. So you could sweep one arm overhead and the other one down. And then when you're ready, we're going to all move into either a downward facing dog or a child's pose, whatever you prefer. If you're wanting to be off of the knees, it might be nice to find a down dog with your chair. So I just have my hands on the seat of the chair, stepping my feet back in order to find length through the spine. And you might even sashay your hips a little bit here, pedaling your heels, bending into one knee, and then the opposite knee. And feel free to take a nice sigh out through the mouth. Ha. Ha. You could even stick out your tongue, stretching through your jaw for a lion's breath. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling, sighing out through the mouth, maybe with a nice roar, sticking out the tongue and stretching the jaw. You might take one more round like that. And then when you're ready, we're all going to walk to a forward fold. You could have your hands on the seat of the chair or on your shins or maybe on blocks. We'll inhale to lift and lengthen the spine up halfway. Exhale to forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. One more time. Inhale, we call this Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift, lengthening through the spine. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. And then find a little spring load of your knees and allow your chest to come up tall, lengthening through the spine. We'll come up into a mountain pose. Reaching the arms up, we're in an upward salute, and then exhale, bring the hands to meet. Draw them into the heart center, and then allow your hands to rest on your heart. Feel this miraculous beating, this rhythm of your heart. As you close down the eyes or soften your gaze, and think about relinquishing the ego, allowing ourselves to ponder with awe and wonder this gift of a heartbeat. With the next exhale breath, you can blink your eyes open, allow your hands to rest at your sides, with your palms face open to receive, your heart open, your shoulders melting down the spine, melting down the back, away from the ears. When you're ready, we're going to move into a star shape. So I'm going to just move some of these props out of the way. It's always like a prop management here. So moving some things out of the way. Now you can do this either seated or standing. We're going to be coming to the long edge of the mat, and I'll show you the seated option and the standing option. I'll show you both options. I'll want my blocks out in front, and I might actually even want my strap for a little bit of a shoulder opener. That's an option as well. So I'll have the strap handy. No need for the block or blanket unless you want to pad your chair. So from here, we're going to step the feet open so that the toes are pointing to the corners of your mat. Now you can stay standing right here, or this would be the time, if you prefer to do this from a chair, you would just have yourself in a seat. So you can bring your hands to your rib cage, flare your fingers open, and imagine those rays of light coming from your heart, reaching the arms out side to side. Imagine that intention you set, that glowing jewel from your heart, radiating out. And then imagine all of the energy you might have scattered around, given away. Allow it to come back and fill your heart. And then if you're standing, you're going to come into a squat, kind of like I'm sitting in goddess. And if you're seated, you can just cactus the arms. So either way, we're going to cactus the arms, coming into a deep squat for goddess, or maybe not such a deep squat. And once more, we'll include a lion's breath here. So you can exhale through the mouth, sticking out the tongue. Think about gathering anything you'd like to get rid of, like spring cleaning, and let it go. We'll inhale, reach the arms, lengthen through the legs if you're standing, and then exhale, goddess. So this looks like this standing. If I'm standing, I'm reaching for 5-pointed star. Exhale, goddess, coming into a squat. And then after that last goddess, go ahead and bring your hands onto your knees, either from a seat or from standing goddess. And then we're going to swivel the right shoulder over towards the left knee. So coming into a little bit of a twist here. Inhale back to center. Exhale, swivel to the other side. Feels so good. Wringing it out. Inhale back to center. Couple more times. Take the pace that feels right for you. Inhaling and exhaling, leaning one shoulder over towards the opposite knee. You might hold or move with your breath. And then we'll come back to center. If you're standing, see if you can parallel your feet. If you're seated, you can parallel your feet as well. I'm going to do this one standing as well because I kind of like it that way. We're going to interlace the hands behind you. Now, if your hands don't feel like they're going to interlace, it feels too much stress on the shoulders, you could just bring your hands to your hips. Or this is where you might include the strap. So maybe you would stretch the strap, your hands, any amount. It could be wide, could be closer together. Draw your shoulders down your back, and then with your next inhale, you'll lift the heart. With your exhale, you can hinge forward from the hips and allow your heart to melt forward. Maybe your interlaced hands can fall overhead with gravity. And it's a little bit easier to do that with the strap because there's more space. If your hands are just on your hips, that's fine too. You can leave them there and omit that shoulder stretch. Whenever you feel ready, allow your hands to land at your low back and then allow your fingertips to trace the back of your legs to come into a wide-legged forward fold. Then I'm going to plant my hands on blocks and inhale to lift and lengthen the spine up halfway. So we're in a wide-legged forward fold and then lifting and lengthening the spine up halfway. Take a nice deep breath here. And if you're seated, that's fine too. You can always bring your hands onto blocks, coming into the forward fold. Let's bring the right hand underneath the face on the block. And then the left hand to the hip. You can start to open the left shoulder, maybe peeking up, perhaps even reaching the arm up towards the sky. On the next exhale, you're going to allow that hand to swan dive underneath and then reach for the right toes. Maybe a few more times, lifting and twisting open. Exhale, weaving the hand under like thread the needle. Maybe one more time like this. You can also do the movement a little shorter or smaller without moving the hand, just keeping the hand at the hip, and then we'll come back to center. Let's switch hands. So you're going to plant the left hand under the face, the right hand to the right hip. Start to peel the shoulder open, lifting the gaze, maybe extending the arm or not. And then exhale to reach the right fingertips towards the left toes. Go ahead and follow the pace of your own breath. A few times like this. When you're ready, we'll find center, and then you can heel toe the feet back underneath the hips. We'll bend into the knees and sweep the arms up to rise through center. Exhale, draw the hands to the heart center. Take a moment to bring the hands to rest on the heart, listening for the rhythm of your heartbeat. And then we'll blink the eyes open. We're going to be making our way next onto our bellies. So there's a couple of different ways we can get there. I don't need the strap now, so I'll move that one off to the side. Why don't we also, at this time, if you have some kind of, now I lost those tune-up balls. I specifically had brought them over here. Well, I was going to say if you had some kind of tennis ball or racket ball for a bit of self-massage. Now, this tennis ball is not going to be great because it's old. It's gotten very hard. So, interesting. I literally had gotten those ready. What did I do with them? All right, well, I'll still show you with the tennis ball what you can do. A racket ball actually would be possibly preferred because it would be softer. But I just had another idea, which is because off to the side, I have these really cute um, dryer balls that I actually needle felted. But a dryer ball could be really nice because it's still going to give you that same kind of ball shape for a massage, but it would be a lot softer than the tennis ball I have. So see if you can find something around your house, and if not, that's okay too. You can always skip that part. So I'm going to just bring those two options close by. I'm curious. And then before we go down onto the ground, look at this, you guys. I just found them, of course, in the cluttery mess of my desk. So these are yoga tune-up balls. They come in a little pouch, and they're basically just like soft, squishy. They're not too squishy. They have a little bit of firmness. I would say they're about the firmness of a racket ball. And remember, you can always store these ideas away for next time and come back to the recording. So we want to start out actually before we come down to the ground with a little bit of a foot massage. You could bring a ball onto the ground, find some place where you can hold on for balance, and then bring the foot onto the ball. And oh yeah, find some places along the bottom of the foot that might want a little bit of pressure and massage. And so what I'm doing is gliding my left foot onto the ball, finding any places that are tender, and maybe using my breath to gently hold there. And then exploring any other places along the foot. And at the same time, see if you can imagine your heart is overflowing with gratitude for your feet. Allowing that gratitude, just like a fountain, to overflow from the heart center, making its way down into your feet. When you're ready, you can always stay there longer if you'd like, but when you're ready, you can come off of the ball and just plant both feet down into mountain pose. And we can try the other side. So maybe you start by peeling the left heel, or this is actually my right foot now, my right heel off of the mat, and then stepping the foot onto the ball, looking for those little tiny Easter eggs, little places of tension, tenderness that you want to give extra attention to, and sending the breath down into the feet. Sending gratitude along with your breath. And you might start even just rolling your foot along the ball. Notice this is really a balancing pose as well. It requires balance and focus. Of course, you can always spend longer if you'd like, especially if you're watching the replay. Maybe you pause and give yourself a nice gentle foot massage. Whenever you're ready, release that. Bring both feet onto the ground. Just allow your feet to fill back up with fluid, with breath. And then when you're ready, we're going to be coming onto our bellies next, as I mentioned before. So you could use the chair to make your way onto hands and knees, or I'm using the blocks to step my feet back into down dog. You might pedal your heels a little bit, or just when you're ready, soften your knees down. We're going to take one short plank, and you might come onto your forearms for your plank, and then step your knees back and just allow your tailbone to tuck under, drawing your low belly in to hover over the mat. Take as many or as few breaths as you'd like here. And when you feel ready for a rest, you can allow your belly to soften onto the ground. Untuck your toes, lengthen your legs back, and we're in Sphinx pose with the elbows under the shoulders, the palms pressing down. You can begin to traction your arms back energetically as you lift your heart forward. See if you can tuck the tailbone under to protect the low back and find an active Sphinx pose. On your next exhale, you could peek your gaze over your left shoulder. Inhale back to center, and then exhale, peek your gaze over your right shoulder. On the next exhale, we're going to relax all the way down into crocodile. So relax any effort. Maybe stack your palms and lower your forehead down. Or if that feels too far away, you could always stack your fists. And that might create a nice pillow to rest your third eye, your forehead. Feel free to stay right here, or if you'd like, you could bend the knees, allowing the heels to gently windshield wiper side to side. This might feel like a nice massage for the thighs and the belly. Maybe for the low back. And then when you're ready, soften your feet down so the tops of the feet are resting on the mat. We're going to slide the palms back underneath the shoulders and then go ahead and roll the tops of the shoulders up and then glide the shoulder blades down the back as you lift the heart up for a baby cobra. On the next exhale, you can turn the gaze to the left, bringing your right temple to the mat or your forehead to the mat if it feels uncomfortable. I kind of like this stretch for the neck. And then once more, another baby cobra. Gliding the shoulders up and down the back as you lift the heart center. And exhale, turn the gaze to the right. Soften the left shoulder down, or the left temple onto the mat. Allow yourself a moment of rest and calm. And then when you're ready, we'll press up to tabletop. And we're going to go ahead and turn, walking the knees forward so you can come onto your seat. And then when you're ready, you can bring the soles of your feet to touch. Open the knees out wide, and you could always bring a blanket or bolster underneath your hips. We're just going to take a moment to pause in a cobbler's pose. So go ahead and lift and lengthen the spine. And then as you exhale, you can fold over your legs, maybe bringing some attention back to the feet. So you might use your hands to warm your toes. Give your feet a little love and rub. Maybe up into your ankles. a little bit onto your calves and shins, and you might just give your lower leg a little rub and squeeze. Kind of interesting as I squeeze my ankles, my toes sort of wiggle as well. Kind of cute. Now go ahead and reach for any kind of ball that you might have. I will definitely not want to use this hard as a rock old tennis ball. Ew. So I have this nice softball, or I think this wool dryer ball would actually work really nicely because it's really spongy and soft. So we're going to be coming onto our backs to give ourselves a little bit of a back massage in this area in between your shoulder blade and your spine. And we can do one at a time, or if you do have two balls, you can always put them into this little tune-up bag ball, or or another thing you can do is take two tennis balls or two racket balls and then tie them into a sock, and that will actually create a way for you to massage both sides. I'm just going to show you one at a time. So let's roll onto the back, plant the feet on the mat, and then roll over onto your right side. You can bring the ball right to place it. So you're going to bring the ball into your left hand and then reach that hand back to place the ball in between your shoulder blade and your spine. And then roll onto your back. It's kind of nice if you keep your feet on the mat. And then just start to allow that area right between your shoulder blade and your spine to melt over the ball. Taking some nice deep breaths. The dryer ball works really well. If you do need it to be even a little bit softer, you can always put a blanket over the top of the ball. And then it's kind of like that story of the princess and the pea. You'll still feel it, but you'll just be able to dampen the sensation. Now, if you don't have a ball and you want to skip this part, of course, it's your choice. So feel free to start to round out your practice today with any other of your choice shapes. I'm going to try the tune-up ball instead. It's actually a little smaller than the dryer ball, and it's going to give a little bit more of an intense pressure. And once you allow yourself to really melt in and you feel comfortable, you could start playing around here by pressing into your feet and just allowing your torso to feel a little glide up and down. And I try to think about, it's nice when we can offer ourselves a little bit of self-massage, especially in our yoga practice. Another option would be to lift your left arm and maybe start to paint some little circles with the fingertips. Imagining you're painting circles on the ceiling. Anytime when you feel done with this side, go ahead and roll off to the side. Remove the ball by reaching back with your left hand, and then just give yourself an opportunity to come back to stillness. Whenever you feel ready for the right side, we'll roll onto the right side. Actually, this would be my left side now. Or wait, no, I'm getting my left and right mixed up. So I can reach back with my right hand, place the ball in between the shoulder blade and spine. And if it's very intense, just give yourself an opportunity to pause, sending your breath into this area of sensation. Allowing your tissue to soften over the ball and deciding if you need to dampen it, maybe with a blanket. Now, I forgot to mention I don't have a wall space, but you could also do this at the wall, and that would allow for you to maybe find less pressure. You would be pinning the ball in between your body and the wall. Maybe you wouldn't have the full weight of your body on that spot. Now, if you're ready to find some movement, you'll go ahead and press into your feet. Maybe just find a gentle gliding motion, offering a gentle massage to that area of the body. And then whenever you feel ready, go ahead and release that side. And our next place that we'll move to is Shavasana corpse pose, the ultimate pose of surrender. So just allow yourself to find any creature comforts, maybe socks for your feet, a blanket to provide some warmth and weight over the body. Maybe you take a bolster and place it underneath the knees for support. Give yourself some permission to rest. Closing the eyes or softening the gaze, relaxing the hinge of the jaw. And we'll take some moment of quiet before I return to the reading. Swami Rama used to say, "Do what is yours to do. Don't do what is not yours to do." How simple these words may sound to our ears, and yet they are profound to our understanding of surrender. As we are able to let go of what we can't change, we are able to grow more and more into our own unique gift and contribution to life itself. There is something that is ours to do, and whether it is large or small, it is our contribution to the whole of humanity. As we discern where our path lies, and then surrender to that awareness, we begin to taste freedom and joy in a way we never dreamed possible. Surrender asks us to be strong enough to engage each moment with integrity, and at the same time, soft enough to flow with the current of life. Surrender is ultimately a stance of devotion that takes place in the heart and permeates all of our attitudes and actions. In its deepest sense, Ishvara Pranidhana is the surrender of our ego to a higher purpose. As the ego surrenders, the heart expands. As the ego stops working so hard to get its own way, life begins to take on an ease and rhythm. As the ego stops fighting to be number one, life begins to nourish and feed us in amazing ways. Go ahead and take a nice deep breath, breathing into your heart center and allowing it to expand. And then when you're ready, allow the exhale breath to release any tension, any holding. When you're ready, you can start to invite some rhythm and movement into your fingers and toes, gently rotating your wrists and ankles. And then take a nice long body stretch, reaching your arms past your ears, rolling onto one side, cradling yourself there in a fetal position. And then you can go ahead and roll up to a seat, inviting your hands to meet at your heart center in a gesture of gratitude, Anjali Mudra. And then allow your head to humbly bow towards the wisdom of your ever-loving heart. It's such an honor and a privilege to have this opportunity to guide you through your practice. So I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Feel free to stick around if you have thoughts or questions.